and we daily take up the daily news analysis of the Hindu newspaper. An initial 1 minute, we firstly see which are the topics that will be covered in the particular video, so that you will be able to skip the video to watch particular topics that you want to watch. And in this, we also discuss to which mains paper you can relate the particular topic, and how it can be asked, and how it is mentioned in your main syllabus, and how it can be asked in the prelims examination. And for your kind information, you can ask any doubt in the comment section. We will try to make up the video on that. And let's start the today's video, where we will discuss firstly about the regulatory reform that's stuck in a loop in a health ministry. So there is a basically regulatory reform problem relating to the health sector. And yesterday also we have discussed about the health sector. We have discussed about the issues with respect to the primary healthcare, secondary healthcare, and the tertiary healthcare. And you can obviously refer the yesterday's editorial also for the health sector, as it is linked to the basically health sector. You can relate it with the GS2 health topic, as in the GS2 they can specifically ask the question on the health topic, and the knowledge of these three issues will definitely help you to write better in the answer. Next, there is a editorial on the census. As we know, the census should have been completed by 2021, because after every 10 years, India conducts its census. And the last census was conducted in 2011. But the reason quoted by the government is the COVID-19, due to which there is a delay in the census. But now it is being said by the government that it is going to complete its census by 2026 or 2027. It means from comparing to the last census, there has been a gap of at least 16 to 17 years. In this topic, we will discuss that we use the method of calculating or collecting the data under the census is enumeration based data, that is 100% data is taken. And we will discuss how the other methods are available in the globally and other countries are using them, what could be the benefit of it. And we will also discuss in the same editorial what is the importance of the census, and you can relate it with the GS1 geography. Population is mentioned there in the society, and you can also relate it with the GS1 geography topic. And in prelims, specifically demographics is mentioned in your prelims syllabus. It means the knowledge relating to the census should be clear to you. And in the past also, in the last 10 days, we have discussed like how our census delay is impacting our other policies. We will also discuss the importance of the census, and we have discussed about the caste data that needs to be collected so that our reservation policy can be made effective. I hope it is clear like with which topic or the mains you can relate the particular topic. After that, India UAE Inc. Nuclear Pact. As UAE is a country that is located in the West Asia, and it is as a unique position. You need to see on the map, like if we draw, this is the tip where the UAE located. It's a unique position, like near to the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, and it is located in the basically West Asia, from where India imports the oil. So our basically energy security is dependent on the West Asia. That is why basically India UAE relationship is important for us. And in the exam they can ask about the India West Asia relationships, as we have a look west policy with regard to the West Asia. And maybe the specific question on the UAE could come, because it has been news since last 2 to 3 years due to the Abraham Accord. And in this particular video topic, we will firstly see what are the other aspects in the India UAE relationships, and how our UA and India relationships is being strengthening day by day. What are the new developments? And we will also see the nuclear pact recently signed between the nuclear companies of the both of the countries, how it is important for the energy security. It means you can relate this the topic with the GS2 IR, and we will also try to extract places in news that can be asked in the prelims examination. After this, there is an article in the newspaper with regard to the road safety. We will discuss the recent report, how it highlights the issue of the road accidents and what can be done for the road safety enhancement. And you can relate it with the GS3 topic because the infrastructure road is mentioned in the GS3 specifically, and you can also relate it with the disaster management topic in the GS3. After this, there is a editorial on taking TB seriously. In the past also we have discussed like center has approved the new regimen for the TB. We will again revise that. We will see what were the two medicines that were earlier prescribed for the TB, and we will discuss about the basics that can be asked in the prelims examination. And this is an editorial. You can relate it with the GS2 again public health topic, and it can be asked more in the prelims. I hope the topics that will be discussed in the video is clear to you. Moving further, first editorial that talks about the regulatory reform stuck in a loop in the health ministry. It is highlighting three of the problems, as recently the report has been given by the DGCI, that is Director Drug Control General of India. It is a body that is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and it can be asked in the prelims examination, like under which ministry the particular body is existing. These kind of static things is being asked factually in the prelims examination, so you need to remember this is under the Ministry of Health and the Family Welfare. Now coming back to the editorial, it is highlighting three the issues in the public health. First issue is recall guidelines. Maybe in the prelims they could ask, recently recall guidelines are in the news, seen in the news, and it is related to what? So you need to understand under this basically, if there is a lack of basically standards following by the particular drug, or there is a lack of quality in the drug, then there should be swiftly removal from the market. It means swiftly removing the drugs that fail the testing in the government laboratories from the market. But we will discuss what are the problems, why we are not able to implement the recall guidelines. I hope the meaning of the recall guidelines is clear to you. It means if there is a lack of quality in the particular drug and that particular drug has failed the testing in the government department, then removing the basically that particular drug from the market, it is a recall guidelines. But we will discuss why we are not able to implement that. Second of the issue that has been highlighted on the GDP, that is guidelines on the good distribution practices. It is based on the basically guidelines with regard to the practices with regard to safety, storage, and during transit and sale. It means how the particular drugs are being transported, whether the basically quality norms are followed or not, how the drugs are stored in the pharmaceutical chemist shops, like how these are stored in the transportation, or and how these are stored in the shops. So there is a good distribution practices on which guidelines has come up, but we will see why these are not able to be implemented by the departments. After that, there is another problem that is highlighted is use of similar brand names by the pharmaceutical companies. Like for example, if there is a similar brand name of the say of different pharmaceutical companies, then it could lead to the prescription errors. There could be prescription errors, or as maybe doctor has recommended some other medicine, but due to the similar name the different medicine has been given by the pharmacists. So the wrong drugs are dispensed to the patients, causing them harm. Obviously, if you are taking the wrong medicine, it can uh, cause a harm to your body. And it is very surprising thing that the same issues was highlighted by the our parliamentary standing committee way back in 2012, and it was a 15th ninth report of the parliamentary standing committee that has highlighted the same problems in 2012, and now it's 2024. It means we are not able to curb the issues. We will now discuss why the particular these three issues are existing and what can be done further. First is recall guidelines. Why we are not able to implement these guidelines, as it was announced in August, and earlier it was announced in 2012, then in 2017. It means same guidelines have been repeatedly notified by the department, but actually the DGCI, that is Director Drug Controller General of India, is not having the legal power to make the rules to be binding, and this is the power only with the Ministry of Health under the constitution. It means the whatever the guidelines are coming by the DGCI has no legal binding requirement, and if it is not legally enforced, it means it has no legal consequences. It means even if the recall guidelines are not implemented and the pharmaceutical company is not recalling its drug, if it is following the quality, but there is no legal consequence, there is no punishment in part of this. It means due to the lack of legal binding or the legal consequences, we are not able to implement the recall guidelines. After this, there is another guidelines on the good distribution practices, and the proposal was to bring the legal binding nature of these, but the these was opposed because it is very difficult to implement. There is around 6 lakh retail outlets in the country. How the this can be implemented? It is very difficult to do the good distribution practices, and for this there is a need of huge investment in the storage equipment. It means we need to increase the infrastructure in the storage equipment, and you can definitely mention in the issues in the health sector. If it is asking what are the issues in the public health sector of the India, there you can mention about the good distribution practices are not there because there is a lack of investment in the storage equipment. After this, why it is needed in India, why we need a good distribution practices, because we have a hot and humid country, due to which this can make the drug spoil easily, and after it reduces the perishability of the medicines, and it can again harm the public health. After this, the example has been mentioned in the editorial. What happened in the Bhagirath Palace in the New Delhi? It has highlighted the problem, like there was poor storage practices for the drugs and even for the vaccines. It means we need to implement the good distribution practices. For this, there is a need of increasing investment in the storage equipment. After this, the last problem that highlighted by the DGCI is use of similar brand names. And in 2001, this key issue has come into the picture with the Cadila Healthcare Limited versus Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited. And you also can relate this topic with the IPR topic mentioned in the GS3 syllabus. So in the IPR, that is intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights means that is awarding any innovation or the idea with the patent, trademark. These are some of the copyrights. These are all IPRs. And this is the issue relating to the trademarks. As in India, there is no compulsory registration of the trademarks. There is only a basically self-declaration by the pharmaceutical companies. It means as there is a use of similar brand names. Why? Because the reason is the only thing they have to do is a self declaration that they are not using the same brand name. And even once the basically DGHS has written a letter to the registrar of trademarks to work in this aspect of the similar brand names, the problem is the registration of the trademarks is just uh, it's not a mandatory thing, it's voluntary. And the provision of the self declaration is creating this problem. We have already discussed with the similar brand names, there could be prescription errors. So we need to bring maybe making that trademark registration mandatory, or maybe we can remove this provision of self declaration, or rather we can use the basically practices of the global. As in other countries, this is the responsibility of the department to give the declaration to the pharmaceutical companies with regard to the use of brand name. I hope the three issues, that is recall guidelines, good distribution practices, and use of similar brand name is clear to you. And you can use these issues if the question is about the issues in the public health. Now, how the loop can be broken further. This editorial highlights further the why there is no legally binding guidelines. We have discussed it already, because this is not the power with the DGCI, and we have discussed the guidelines are being repeated similarly in 2012, 17, and again into 2024. The problem is why we are not able to bring the good implementable guidelines, because the department are headed by the all India services, and these IAS or the IPS officers, these having the little domain expertise with regard to the public health, and they lack the institutional knowledge, due to which the proper guidelines could not come. Another problem that is highlighted here, the trade associations of the pharmacists or the pharmaceutical companies are using their every way so that they can stall the necessary action. And you can use this example in the GS2 pressure groups topic. And we have discussed it multiple times, like pressure groups are those groups or the association which are able to exert pressure on the public policy. The same way these trade associations of the pharmaceutical companies are able to exert the pressure on the health department, so the guidelines could not be made legally binding. I hope the whole three issues are clear to you, and how it can be used in the GS2 public health topic. It is very much clear to you, and you can use the yesterday's discussion on the editorial with regard to the issues in the primary healthcare and the tertiary and the secondary healthcare is clear to you. Moving further to the next editorial, here is the next census should be the last enumeration based one. Here we are saying the next census that is going to be completed on in 2026 or 2027, it should be the last enumeration based one. So we need to bring new type of census data collection. Now, firstly, let's understand what is enumeration based census. It is a statistical investigation in which data are collected for the each and every element unit of the population. It means it is not based on the sample. We are taking the data from each and every unit of the population, termed as census method. And it can also be called as complete enumeration or the 100% enumeration. Or it means in the basically prelims examination, they can ask whether the census in India is based on enumeration or not. It means we take 100% data from each and every unit of the households or the population, due to which basically there is a delay in the census data. It is very difficult to complete such kind of data, and such kind of enumeration based census should be for those purposes, or for those countries which are having a small size. But India has a huge population, and the recent UN report that has highlighted that Indian population has surpassed the Chinese population. And now we will discuss what is the importance of the census. This editorial highlights this is a valuable repository of data with regard to the economic endeavors. Like it tells about the what is the sector of the economy on which our population is dependent, how much employment is being provided, educational attainments, literacy rates, housing and domestic facilities. It tells about the urbanization, migration, mortality, fertility, religion, language, additional socio-economic, cultural, and demographic information. All these are important for the every political socio-economic policies of the government. For example, to implement a MG Narega, for the PM Awas Yojana, for the PDS system, for all type of the schemes, we need a data of the census. Now you need to understand, as our data census is basically around 13 years old, as it was conducted in 2011. Now in 2024 we are using the same data. It means there are exclusion and inclusion errors in our schemes. After this, editorial also highlights the example of the Hoj Khas, which is now a urbanized city having very affluent families, but it was quoted as a rural area in 2011. And there are multiple examples of these, like the change in the urbanization has been there, and India has been operating with the proper data for a long time. That is why there are inclusion and exclusion errors in the schemes. This editorial further tells the idea that can be pursued. What can we use is the dynamic census. Why? What is dynamic? That is changing census. It means instead of just having a census after 10 years, we can even update our census on the real time basis. How it is possible? Like if we interconnect our various uh, administrative registers, it can be digitally updated. For example, India was also preparing a software by which the birth date of the child will come into the back end of the database, and now when he will attain the age of 18 years, he will be given the voter card, and when the name of him will be removed from the voter list when when there is a case of the death. I hope you are able to understand. We can bring the dynamic basis census also by bringing the convergence between the administrative registers. It can be possible in the digital India. After this, the another type of census is register based census. It means we are linking the different administrative registers, like in Austria, Bahrain, Denmark, Finland. They are using this type of census in which they have linked the registers. For example, using the population, tax, employment, school, hospital records, and data from the municipalities. All these are compiled together and linked together by using the basically digital. And with this, we can further complement this data with the well planned small scale sample survey, because obviously there is a need of some kind of sample survey also to complement this data. And this has been a cost effective, like the editorial tells, in the Austria the cost of the census has reduced from the 70 million euros to the 10 million euros. It means the register based census can be used by the India by linking the administrative registers. But obviously, this requires a huge change in the system. We need to digitize the records, because now only we talk about the digitalization of the land records, how it can help. Now we are talking digitalizing the population records, because it can bring the reforms in every kind of schemes. It means if then the question is on the governance and it is asking about any particular scheme, there you can use this as a way forward, like to bring, to reduce the inclusion and exclusion error of any of the scheme. We need to bring the register based census, because it could be dynamic and it could be updated on the real time basis. The inclusion and exclusion errors can be eliminated. Further, the case of the UK government has mentioned, which is using the dynamic register based census. And now, what kind of steps India has already taken in this aspect? Like we have linked the Aadhaar, PAN, voter ID, bank accounts, and the mobile numbers. With this linkage, we can further link this to the our census data. and we could have Aadhaar linked census data. And our current government has also highlighted its intention to merge the voter card, Aadhaar card, and other databases into the census database. We have understood what could be the change it can bring and what could be the reforms it can bring, and it can bring the change in the policy making of the India, and it can remove the inclusion and exclusion errors in the schemes. And there is a vital importance of the census, and we need to fasten and expedite the census data collection. I hope the whole editorial is clear to you. Moving further, next article is about the India and UAE. As the United Emirates basically and India, they have signed a pact for the civil nuclear cooperation, and this article is also telling the UAE's Bharak nuclear power plant. In the prelims, such kind of questions can also come. They can give the match the following, where they have where they could given the Bharat nuclear plant, where it is located. It is in UAE, you need to remember. And in fact, during the Russia-Ukraine war, there was an attack on the Ukraine nuclear plant. That is why these are in the news. Maybe they can link the Ukraine nuclear plant with this, and they can make a basically match the following question with regard to the nuclear plant. So this is the factual thing that can be asked in the prelims examination. You need to remember Bharat nuclear plant is located in the UAE. And now, if the question comes on West Asia and the India relationships, and if you are writing the significance of the India and the West Asia relationships, then you can make separate heading of the nuclear energy. There you can mention about the pact between the India and UAE, or maybe you can write this as an example under the energy security topic. Now, if we discuss about the India and UAE relationships, like, you need to understand there is a geopolitical issue in the West Asia. There were two parts. One of the was Saudi Arabia, and on the other side you can think of the Iran. But the recent Abraham Accord, and we have also seen the West Asian countries basically, in the case of the Israel and Palestine, they are divided in their cases. But recently, with the Abraham Code, with the mediation of US, it was signed between Israel and UAE, and this has also led to the new term or the new organization, that is West Quad. In this, India has also been added. It is also known as I2U2. That is India, Israel, USA, and UAE. So, with the Abraham Accord, with the mediation of the US, the agreement or the relationship between the Israel and UAE has been normalized. It means the West Asia is moving from away from the Palestine cause, because the West Asia generally was opposite of the Israel, and they were favoring the rights of the Palestinian people. But with the Abraham Accord, there was a basically a good relationship building between the UAE and Israel, and this has also led to the formation of the West Quad, that is I2U2. India, Israel, UAE, or US. It means UAE has been in the news, and they can ask specifically about the India UAE relationships, but certainly the higher chances of West Asia. And we have already discussed while writing about the bilateral relationships with any countries, you need to divide your basically discussion on the basis of economic cooperation, defense, or the strategic cooperation. You can write. You can also write about the science related developments. Then you can mention about the people to people ties, and then you can mention about the infrastructural projects, energy security. This, and you can also mention about the international cooperation or the regional cooperation groups. This way you can write about the and prepare different bilateral relationships with the countries. I hope the whole discussion is clear to you why UAE has been important. And now obviously in the newspaper every day the Israel Palestine war is in the news. Maybe they could ask about the West Asia, and there are some of the issues also in the West Asia because the geopolitical crisis going on there. This leads to the instability in the neighborhood, that also increases the case of the decrease in the trade relationships. Moving further, on the challenge of the road safety in India. So this is the report that is highlighting the problem of the road safety is not there, and it is saying the India status report on the road safety. It is highlighting there is a slow progress towards meeting the international goals of reducing road accident fatalities, but also emphasizes the organic connection with the road construction mobility and the need for a differentiated approach to mitigate road accidents. So this is the report that is highlighting we are behind to achieve the goal of international with regard to the road accidents. And in this report, it is highlighting only 7 states, basically more than 50% of the motorized two-wheeler riders actually wear the helmets. It means there is a lack of following the safety norms. After this, only 8 states have audited more than half of their national highway length. After this is also highlighting the pedestrians, the cyclists, two-wheeler riders are the most common victims of the road accidents. And who is responsible more? Trucks are the more responsible for the road accidents. And we need to prioritize the scale up of the road safety interventions. So the article talks about the basically road safety governance needs to be promoted. How? Like India was having around 40% more likely to die in the road accident in 1990, but it is now increased to 600%. So we need to act on the reduction of the road accidents. One of the way forward is mentioned by the central and state government need to prioritize the scale up of the road safety interventions. First point you can mention this. Second point that has been highlighted, we need to have national database for the fatal crashes, because this article tells us we do not have a crash surveillance system, and it should be necessary, because once we will have the crash surveillance system, the database with regard to the crashes, then only with the data we can improve upon the facts, and we can improve the system with regard to the road construction as well. Then only the norms can be implemented after the data collection. It is also highlighting that the public should have the access to this national database or the system, so that they could improve the understanding of the specific risks to the road users and effectiveness of various interventions implementation in the states. I hope the road accidents, in fact, this has been a major cause of the deaths in India, and the it is related to the public health also in the GS2, and you can relate it to the GS3 infrastructure topic. So there is a problem of road accidents, and these are the way forwards you can mention in the exam. Moving further, it is linked to the taking TB seriously, and we have already discussed about the BPAL-M regimen in the basically few days back discussion, where we have discussed about the medicines that are given in the BPAL-M regimen, and this is the new regimen for the multi-drug resistant TB, where bedaquiline, pretomanate, linezolid, and moxifloxacin, and it can be asked in the prelims examination. And also remember that the TB is a bacterial disease, where Mycobacterium tuberculosis is a bacteria due to which the TB is caused. And the symptoms, if we see in the TB, there is a cough, long persistent cough is seen in the TB, and there is a joint pain is also, fever is also there in the TB. And there is basically, what is the earlier treatment that was given for the TB? There were two medicines, that is isoniazid and rifampicin. And when the person is not responding to these two drugs, then we can move forward to the BPAL-M, and this is for the multi-drug resistant TB patients. Now it is highlighting what is the basically data. If when we will say the TB has been eliminated from the India, when only one case will be seen for the population of 10 lakhs, and we have a Nikshep Mitra scheme also for the TB elimination, where we are providing the extra support for the financially, nutritionally, and the societally in the form of Nikshep Mitra scheme. And it has also yielded the result because there is a reduction by 16% from 15 to 2022, and this is the double the pace at which the global TB incidence is declining as per the WHO global TB report. And what more question could come? Global TB report, it is given by WHO. It can be asked in the prelims examination. And another thing you have already understood, TB is a bacterial disease caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And we have discussed about the basically relating to the symptoms. And the earlier drugs, you have to remember isoniazid and rifampicin that are given for the TB. But when the person is not responding to these two drugs, then the BPAL-M regime has been basically approved by the center. I hope the factual information with regard to the TB is clear to you, and it can be asked in the prelims examination. Now we are concluding our discussion. Hopefully, it might help you to clear some of the doubts with regard to the syllabus and how it can be mentioned in the answers. Keep practicing the answers, basically the topics that we discuss. You can share your answers in the comment section. We will definitely try to evaluate that. And please do like, share, and subscribe our channel. And all the best to all of you. Thank you.